There's a story inside every smoke shop, with every cigar and with every person. Come be a part of the cigar lifestyle at Boveda. This is Box Press.
It was an honor this year to be able to come out here and work with Cigars for Warriors, raise awareness, talk about that this was the year that 1.5 million cigars have got into the hands of people out in the military.
Beautiful.
So that makes me particularly happy to know.
Yeah, that's a great cause, and we appreciate what you guys do.
Well, we appreciate you guys. I did this last year with Tim and
Sean.
Thank you. As I get older,
It's okay.
I call it sometimes.
We'll help you.
It happens only sometimes.
We'll draw it out of you.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't wear a name tag for other people. I wear a name tag so I remember who I am.
That's it. But yeah, I did this with them because we thanked them because it was our 10th anniversary year that Boveda's been with us since the beginning.
This is a great angle on this whole business, okay? You go to that bar in the hotel and you hang out and you stand around, and within minutes you're talking to people that you've never met, and you're finding out about people, it's their first show, and instead of people going, oh, you're not a big shot, I'm going to leave you alone, they're like, so tell me about what you're doing. Tell me about what you're creating. I met a couple of new cigar lines last night when I was there. We had them on an interview earlier in the day because Sean and Tim, when they came to PCA, they couldn't get into the show. It wasn't PCA then, it was some other acronym.
IPCPR.
Or some RTDA. I'm tired of acronyms. But they stood outside 26 years ago with their backpacks, with their Boveda bags in them, and they were asking people, are you buying or are you selling? And if they were selling and they were a cigar house, we want you to try this. This is a new way to take care of cigars. This is a new way to prevent them from to give people an opportunity to enjoy the quality that you want them to enjoy at the point, in Fuente's circumstance, they were the first major customer that got involved with the company. They go out of their way to accommodate new people, to include them, get them involved. It's an ethic of this industry.
And being inclusive, that's really where the brotherhood is, as you see it. And there's really not a lot like it. And I use, there's things that I've seen throughout my 30 years of doing promoting. I had a club that you watch that certain amount of camaraderie within this group of people. Look, you can have, and I joke, but it's not really a joke, you could have everybody in this room drinking, going out, having a good time. There's nobody's fighting. Yeah. Nobody's breaking bottles. There's no scuffles. Everybody is legitimately enjoying everybody else's company. Now, I can promise you, as somebody who's owned a club before, I wish I had that. 2 hours in, people are fighting each other, people are brawling, people are getting loud, people are being disrespectful, and there's just something special with this community that's not like that at all. And,
it is a great community. And the punctuation that Cigars for Warriors has put on the cigar community, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh. Well, we crossed that 1.5 million over July 4th weekend.
That's just crazy. That's a crazy number.
Well, I'll tell you how it's growing so rapidly. We got that last 500,000 to get us to that number, and half the time it took us to get to our first 500,000. That's the support we get around here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And it's the attitude that people have about our armed services.
Absolutely.
And the people that are serving our country. It's a really worthy cause.
Great opportunity to be able to give back. Like I said, I've never served, but when I know I could be part of this, and like I said, I look at this as a blessing to be able to do stuff with Cigars for Warriors because I get to give something back for people who've given everything for us. So if it's a cigar where they could sit back and have that, 35 minutes of smoking time where they're sitting either with their friends in the unit or if they're just contemplating individually on their own, I like to know that we're doing something to help give that back a little bit, that normalcy, if you will.
So you look somewhat patriotic today.
Little bit. I'm always one to be very demure, and wear my my muted colors. But no, I figured it was perfect time. 4th of July.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing more American than the ladies and gentlemen of the armed forces. So for me, I always keep these things fun. You've seen throughout the last 15, 20 years of doing these shows, I keep it as fun as possible. And that, that means people come up to you, and that means people are going to want to make a connection people want to talk, and I think that's what the beauty of this entire industry is. You do something when you're doing stuff with Cigars for Warriors. You want to be out there. You want people to want to come up, to want to have those conversations with you, explain what the organization does, what it means. And I think, like I said, I think all those things are so important, and this is the perfect community to really be able to help, and I love it.
Well, you're bringing the fun factor up to a higher level.
Always.
Yeah,
Always.
That's your thing.
Yep, we live in some harsh times. So if you could leave everything kind of at the front door, wipe your feet when you walk in, have a good time, enjoy, keep everything mild, keep everything easy, and enjoy each other's company. Enjoy the art of the leaf. Know that you're doing something to support your troops, and I always try to keep the most fun angle as humanly possible. Coffee
is a big part of your.
Always loved coffee. So especially, I quit drinking 20 odd years ago. I'm like, I need to have some vices. I said, I love my coffee. I said, we'll keep food, coffee, and cigars my vices.
Did you quit on purpose?
Yeah, not a fun story. So when I was younger, the joke was amongst my friends is Matty Rock is the craziest, therefore he will die first. Fast forward, I literally buried all of them. For one was killed by a drunk driver. One was the drunk driver, wound up killing himself. And then when the last one went, for me, it was just like, you know what, I've had enough. And it was strange because I just lost all taste. I just, I had a club. People be like, how do you know he really doesn't care about drinking anymore? They're like, look who's bartending on bar number 2. So for me, the smell does nothing for me. I'm not one of those guys that go, gee, I sure wish I could have a drink. It just never enters my mind. Just not part of my daily life or daily routine. Yep. And, and like I said, what better homage in saying, hey, I remember you, than something like that. Something that took the people that I cared an awful lot about, and they're gone.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
So,
congratulations.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah. That's so now, what else is in the kitty? Come on, bring me promotions. What are you excited about?
Whew. Like I said, obviously cigars over the last 30 years of my life has been one of my passions. I remember literally 30 years ago going in a car with the guys. We may or may not have found out that you only needed to be 18 to legally drink and smoke in Montreal. So we headed up. Here's another pretty cool story. I'm like, we're a bunch of classy guys. We're going to go up to Montreal. We're going to drink Canadian beer. We're going to smoke some Cuban cigars. We're going to live the rich life. This is what we do.
It's a good plan.
This is what we do. But what you wind up finding out at that age, when you go into a cigar store and be like, look, I speak a little bit of French. My father's Belgian, so they love that. They're like, bonjour, monsieur, je veux 3 cigars Cuban pour mon ami. Oh, so you speak some French. That's great. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll do a good deal for you. It was $70. And I'm like, oh, all together? And he's like, no, $70 each. So at that moment, I learned what was a classy cigar at the moment was a Robert Burns in a tin that was about $2.08 American cents. So that was the first foray into cigars for me, from Cubans to Robert Burns in the tubos. And never looked back. Love the culture, love the history, love going down to Nicaragua. I've been there quite a few times through a state. Figured out I have absolutely no blending skills whatsoever. I've had my hand at blending stuff I wouldn't give to a dog. Made me respect it even more. When you learn what really goes into it from seed to cigar, your respect just keeps rising. And then when you hear of somebody being a torciador or a master, that terminology means even more, because you watch really all the different phases that you have to go through and just the mastery of the art to get from A to B. So you really respect when you hear about the masters. Like, people probably overuse the word master blender, which makes you respect the real master blenders even more. So love being part of the culture, love being part of these events, love traveling nationally, doing all this stuff.
Have you done that at Safari?
Cigar Safari, absolutely.
Drew Estate does down in Esteli?
Yep. So I've probably done 10 or 11 of them over the years.
Awesome.
That's where I tried to blend and prove to myself that, you leave that to the experts.
Did you spend any time with Willie?
Oh, yeah. Willie's the best, man. Willie Herrera is top-notch dude.
I discovered that cigar at Cigar Jones in Minnetonka, Minnesota, that red label, Willie Herrera Esteli, and then the Brazilian wrapper that he did the second one.
Yep, on the blue wrap, yep.
Yeah, and I I've bought a lot of those
It's
cigars.
an addictive cigar. They're fantastic. Out of the Herrera, and
He's
it's funny that you
terrific.
said that. Yeah, and he's a wonderful human being as well too. He's fun to be around.
And
his
he's a
knowledge.
master blender.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's a modest guy. He'll never call himself that. He's a master blender. You go watch what he does when you're down at Teton in Miami. I've been smoking his stuff forever. I actually, about 5 or 6 years ago, came across some ancient Redemption Maduros. So you're talking about sticks that are probably 18, 20 years old. And he's looking at me. I'm like, you know what these are? He's like, yeah, I don't have any more. And he goes, looks like you got a box and a half there. I said, yeah, you're not. I love you, but you're not getting any of them. And that's that's how much I love them.
When you walk into the show, you have specific brands that come to mind that you're just got your heart set on visiting and seeing and being around these guys. Are there particular brands that stand out as your top 2 or 3 that?
Well, as a personal smoker, yeah, but for the charity, everybody in this room at varying levels do things for us.
Everybody participates.
Everybody participates. And, I spend most of the show running around thanking everybody, and they get tired of it sometimes. They go, we do this because we want to. And I go, but you have to understand how much we really appreciate what you do. But I'm a big boutique guy. I like to find the new guys. So from a personal smoker's perspective, I'll come in and I'll try to find all the new guys that I can, because I like to try new things. I mean, that's how I met Willie at one point, is, trying all the things that he does. And I got to echo, nicest man in the world, and is sometimes not the greatest conversationalist because he's just that modest. Because we all sit there and look at him and go, you're the master blender. You're the best in the world. And he goes, nah, man, I just do what I do.
You'd rather talk about food. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, hey, so is that pizza really the best pizza outside of New York? And I said, no, inclusive of New York, Willie. And he's like, can we talk about that? I want to talk about Kinchley's. So he never talks about himself. And like I said, that's how you know the modesty is there, and a true master. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
So you're a New Yorker.
I was born in Queens, and then I'm a sellout. I moved to the burbs, and then I wound up staying there, for the
Trey, where
for the
did
rest
you
of my
grow
life.
up?
So I grew up in quite a few places, but mostly in Texas, between Dallas and Houston. But yeah, I've been in the Houston area since 1977, so I kind of tell everybody that's where I am. But I always tell the joke, my dad was a serial degenerate entrepreneur. We had a new project that he was working and putting together all around the country. So I've lived quite a few places, but usually it was for a year or two till he built something and sold it, and then we moved somewhere else.
How much time do you spend on the road?
Well, for my job, because we're all volunteers at CFW, I run a consulting company that does international logistics, imports, exports, and I'm probably on the road 250 plus days a year for my job. And then you add Cigars for Warriors. Because all my kids are grown, I probably am gone maybe closer to 300 days a year.
Sure. And there's only 365 days in a year.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that's not a lot of home time.
Sounds
No,
almost
it's not.
more like witness protection, sir.
Yeah,
But
well-
I'm not letting the cat out of the bag in that one.
Yeah.
Are you on the road a lot?
You know what? After just hearing that, not quite as much. So obviously with promotions and everything else before COVID hit, I was probably on the road 120 days a year. So, half. So basically Trey's looking at me like, sissy, you have nothing to complain about. So I'd be on the road doing about one half the amount that you were doing, but doing private shows. You've seen I'll do a lot with food guys.
That's
every day.
been a tremendous energizer for what Espinosa and Fieri have done with that line that they came out with. Is just dynamite for the show.
Absolutely.
The energy that it brings to the show, it's been outstanding.
And like I said, it brings an infusion of new people to the game too. So a lot of people that are foodies have never really thought twice about smoking a cigar,
But
right?
you're a natural. If you're a foodie, you're already set up for you love
Mentally,
the,
mentally you are. So you'll sit back the same way as if you were a fine wine connoisseur, the same thing, right? It's all about the different tastes, what you're getting out of it. We all talk about the same type of thing. What do you get? This person's going to taste one thing, this person's going to taste something else, and it gives that ability to talk about it and have a conversation about it. And I love it because you just said it. It's all together, right? If you're a food connoisseur, you're going to get certain things that you taste, certain things that you don't taste. This guy's preference is going to be one thing, this guy's preference is going to be something else, and you get to have conversations about it together, mulling it over.
I had the privilege of having a conversation with Reinhardt from Marifels today, and talking about this pause that happens around a cigar, this connection that happens, this sociability, the slowing, the intentionality, how everything sort of gets more about the now when I engage in this activity. And it just blows me away how easy it is to get distracted by all the craziness in life, and then how this is coming back to center, the unwrapping, the cutting, the lighting up, the conversation, the connection. I mean, that
slows everything down.
Oh, yeah.
And it really does. It slows everything down. That's what's the beauty of it, right? Whether you're smoking amongst friends or smoking by yourself, whether you have that quiet moment where you have a little bit of that introspective going on, or whether you're sharing it with, like I said, a small little clique of people or a whole room full of people. And that's the beauty, right? It's just how inclusive it all is. Everyone can sit down over a cigar, enjoy, talk. And like I said, that's probably one of my favorite things about the culture. It's so inclusive of everything. It's not one of those things, I'm trying to think about the best way to put it. It's not one of those type of things where anybody feels that they don't belong in that niche or that group. Everyone can sit down together, talk about anything, enjoy the nuances of a stick, kind of unwind together. And I love it, and I've always loved it. And I think it's super important, especially with how things are today. I think everybody needs to be able to come down a notch or two.
Absolutely.
And I think cigars are absolutely one of the best ways to do it, in my opinion.
Absolutely, I agree. And it's evidence around here when you go to the restaurants after the show and see the people out engaging the way they do in this community. It's just fantastic.
Well, that's the biggest thing for us with the servicemen and women that are deployed. That relaxation, that ritual, that connection that we're talking about is what we're trying to deliver. Because I tell everybody the best thing for me, sit down with Matty, you have a cigar, we connect, we talk, we chit chat, and it brings your whole blood pressure and the anxiety down. And he and I didn't get shot at today. So you'd think about the same kind of ritual exercise, the cutting, the lighting, the talking, the connection, and how much more that means to a group of individuals who are doing a very dangerous job to protect all of us, and what it means. And we strongly believe, and it's been validated by many people, when you give them the time to do that, you're battling those first symptoms of PTSD.
I agree.
Because all of a sudden they can decompress.
Yeah, you're giving that little bit of normalcy. Like I said, again, somebody who's never served a day where I get to sit back and be like, hey, well, if I have a bad day, I can go sit on the couch, eat a whole bag of Cool Ranch Doritos and bitch about all, the terrible things in the world. Hey, my train was late, or this deal didn't go through. All right, now you got to really kind of get that perspective. And there's guys being shot at overseas to protect my right for my husky ass to be sitting down eating that bag of Doritos. And I'm like, to know that we can give even that smallest thing back, that little bit of normalcy, that calming moment, I mean, that's everything.
Yeah.
Because, it's very easy to take those kind of things for granted. And I think unless people talk about it, and again, doing just what we're doing right now, the ability to talk about it. And some people, you can't yell at everyone because some people aren't even thinking about that aspect. Like,
right.
Perspective is a funny thing. If it's not brought up to you, you don't have any perspective to give. So when you talk about somebody like, hey, you can have a bad day, or this was terrible, or this was upsetting, people who are not serving in an active military zone get to go home to their family or a quiet place and get to unravel and unwind. I mean, obviously in an active war zone, that's not at all the case. So if we could give them even the littlest thing, like, I'm happy we get to send, we send them coffee, we send them cigars, anything where they could sit down and have that little bit of relaxation. And I mean, God, that's the easiest possible thank you. I mean, we owe them so much for what they've given to us. I mean, just that little bit of a thank you. And just hearing how appreciative everyone is. I mean, Trey can tell you the letters that they get, the emails, signed flags coming back.
Well,
those
we
moments
get
mean everything.
Because of your organization, we get letters from people thanking us for being a part of it. I mean, it's. I've had guys contact me and say, yeah, my son's deployed, and I heard that there was a package that arrived, and they were all excited about it. I mean, it's a super meaningful.
And it's cool, and at the end of the day, you get to think, hey, if it wasn't for Boveda, these are active war zones and deserts and everything else, they'd be literally not even laughing, they'd be smoking dried out sticks.
Right.
Well, in a lot of places, it's like this. I mean, you go outside today in Las Vegas, it maybe started at 19% relative humidity in the dewiest part of the morning here.
Yep.
And it's probably 8 or 9 or 10% right now. Those sticks are drying up awfully fast.
Awfully quick.
So, that brings a great segue into how thankful we are for always supporting us. So on behalf of myself and Trey and the rest of Cigars for Warriors, thank you. Like I said, it's one thing to be able to do this and get the cigars, but if they're not being treated properly when they go over, they're not going to have anything left to smoke. It's going to fall apart in their hands and they're going to have tree bark. So thank you guys so very much.
I can tell you without any hesitation that everybody in our organization considers it a privilege for us to have the opportunity to be helpful in that regard. I mean, we're an asterisk on the industry. We're not the main event or the story. The stories are all around us, the brands and the people that have dedicated their lives to this craft. We're just taking care of a little aspect of it.
The beauty is, though, you get to be part of every single one of it, though, because you think about the industry and how long you guys have been around. I mean, people think of, hey, I need, my cigar's humidified, I need everything to be perfect. And I laugh, being in the industry as many years as I have. Hey, Matt, how come you don't have this huge humidor? I'm like, dude, how come you have a Ziploc bag? You have a Ziploc bag and some of those packs in there. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's all I travel with. I'm like, why? I'm like, well, there's some great companies out there that make great devices. I'm like, right. But when you're on the road, I said, if I'm trying to pack 50 cigars, I'm like, well, now there's no room for my actual luggage. Right. I said, when you're built like Sasquatch, you kind of need room in your suitcase for clothes. I'm like, grab that Ziploc bag, put in those Boveda packs, you're good to go. And, there's years I've done, 75,000 miles on the road. That's what I travel with, Ziploc bags and Boveda. And again, and it shows you just how we go full circle again, how everything comes back. We thank you because of that product. We take our Puros wherever we go on the road. Doesn't matter here, back and forth. You guys have seen my travels the last couple of weeks, literally 5,000 miles in 2 weeks, and my precious Puros remained the way they needed to be because of you guys.
That's awesome.
And we truly appreciate that. And like I said, I think everybody here loves and appreciates that because, the whole reason we're here is to get these, and if they're not in smokable condition, what's the point, right? And especially when you're in a place like Vegas, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I could tell you, we've had stuff shipped back that didn't have your product in it, and trying to rehydrate it. There's not a lot of rehydrating you could do when humidity is under 10% or it's 8%. So
for most people, it's a pretty significant investment to buy cigars and to maintain the lifestyle of enjoying cigars, and to have a product that works, that keeps them at a level of freshness, that preserves that window of enjoyment. That's a big deal, and we don't take it lightly. I mean, these guys that started this company, the way they hung in there and got through those early years of trying to make it, it's nothing but respect for what they pulled off. And they're here in the booth working the show. I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And like I said, when when you become a namesake, people don't go humidity packs, right? People go, do you have any Bovedas? And I laugh, and that shows when you know that you've done it. When your name is referred by the brand as opposed to the product, you've done it. And like I said, I've traveled. Anytime you go take a look at any one of my bags, you're going to see not 99% of the time, 100% of the time, that's what I travel with. And, I got, this guy doesn't even make me seem like a road dog. So this road dog over here, I know, has the same thing. That's what he travels with. That's what he packs. That's what keeps the Puros pure.
They do work, and it's a beautiful thing. I got turned on to the company standing in a cigar store, and the gentleman that owned the store I said, what's this? I held up the Boveda pack, and he said, you'll never recharge your humidor again.
Yes.
And I had this moment where the choir of angels sang, and I went, what are you talking about? Because I hate tinkering around with the distilled water and all that. Yeah. We've all done it. And He said, yeah, if you want to meet them, they're downstairs. The company was headquartered in the basement of this cigar store at the time, and I didn't even know they had a basement. And that's how I met Sean and Tim, and it's just been a delight to work with these guys.
Yeah, quality people, quality organization. Like I said, they've been my friends since the inception, meeting everybody. I know Jay forever, and those are blessings when you get to work with really, really good people. It says a lot about the product too. Says a lot, and again, it goes back to, I'm sure I speak on behalf of both of us, Trey. Very, very thankful. Thank you for what you've done for us. Thank you what you've done for the industry, and definitely Cigars for Warriors. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for what you guys have done for us.
It is a treat to have you with us today, Matty Rock and Trey Bowling. Really a pleasure.
We thank you guys for what you've done. It means everything to us. It means everything to the troops. So again, I think my biggest message is thank you. When you speak on our behalf, go out there, talk to people who may have never had a cigar in their entire life. Support the troops. You never had to smoke a cigar in your entire life.
Yeah.
Just know it's something that the troops look very, very forwards to. It's something that they like. And like I said, for me, and the way my mind works in marketing, getting stuff out there, go outside your conventional market space and start bringing new people into the fold, because those new people are going to bring that extra $500,000 awfully quick.
Absolutely.
It's a great idea. Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Really
brother. We
appreciate
appreciate
you.
you.
Yeah, it's a privilege.